There is nothing more funny than watching a Brexiteer who, prior to this, since the referendum, right up to us actually getting Brexit done, constantly saying, no, you don't understand. Brexit's going to be like the best thing since sliced bread. Boy, you just better wait because, oh my word, when we do Brexit, you'll be buttering both sides of your toast because you'll have so much butter you won't know what to do with it. Well, here we are. This is Brexit. And there have been multiple examples of Brexiteers complaining about Brexit. And there are two key areas where we are today. We're going to hear Ben Habib, which is the typical free market fundamentalist, which he absolutely is, because you're going to hear the same arguments. And then you've got others. So a couple of months ago, you may remember the boss of Next, again, another big Brexiteer complaining about the lack of Labour. But he campaigned for Brexit because he wanted to end freedom of movement. Well, what do you think freedom of movement was? It was also freedom of Labour to move about as well. That freedom is now gone. So as a result, we've had a big drop in the labour market. And now we get to hear Ben Habib. So Ben Habib, he was a big player in the Brexit, right from almost the word go, really. He was a big funder of the Leave campaign, the Brexit Party MEP as well. But he has campaigned non-stop for Brexit, saying it would be amazing, it would be wonderful. But we're now about to hear the usual rhetoric that we always hear, that, oh, we have to go for trickle-down economics. No, we have to cut regulations. Well, what regulations and how much should they be cut by? And, of course, too higher taxes. It's the exact same nonsense we have been hearing for years, to which we know does not work and has not worked. So here we go. Going to listen to some Ben Habib try and essentially not blame Brexit for the problems Brexit has created, and try and say, oh no, it's because we're not cutting taxes and we're not cutting regulation. Which, remember, at the referendum, I think if that had been the honest view of the Brexiteers, Brexit wouldn't have happened, because we know that people in the UK like their high standards. Michael Gove even said, yeah, after Brexit, we're going to maintain our high level of standards. Again, Leave campaign promise. Not very well, obviously, kept. So before we go listening to old Benny Boy here, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And, of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a notification link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, well, buy me coffee. And, of course, as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel. And, of course, on we go to listen to Benny. So, here we go. Hang on. There we go. Volume up.
Two fundamental things going on here. First of all, we have an economy that is too highly taxed, too highly regulated, and we have a fundamentally broken labor market. And they're linked, of course. It simply doesn't pay to work in the United Kingdom anymore. Wages have been under
It doesn't work. It doesn't pay to work anymore. Yet Ben Habib refuses, and he's going to be refusing a bit, where he's talking about the doctors' strikes. He's going to refuse to actually give them that money. It's interesting. Interesting that he'll make that admission later on.
Pressure for the last 13 years. Inflation, and I have some sympathy with the 35% figure that the junior doctors came up with, because actually in real terms, they probably have suffered a 35% reduction in wages. So what we've got is an economy that is unable to sustain higher wages because it's not growing, and it can't grow because taxes are too high and we're overregulated.
So the whole reason Ben Habib is saying here is the typical free market fundamentalist point of view, that we are overtaxed and we are overregulated, and you don't understand because businesses won't invest here because the corporation tax is too high, so they've got no reason to be innovative. And of course, those businesses that are here, again, because regulation is so high, there's no reason to innovate or do anything because, oh, regulation is too high. Well, okay, what regulation should we get rid of? Or maybe what regulations we should lower or change? If this is the case that businesses, want to do this, how can we sort of help businesses? But again, you don't hear this because, of course, Ben Habib would have to say the quiet part out loud, which is basically there should be no regulations. And that in reality, there should also be pretty much almost next to zero corporation tax. Like I say, this is trickle-down economics on massive steroids. This is what, again, Liz Truss tried to do and pretty much almost crashed the economy. And also, it's worth bearing that, once again, these are unfunded tax cuts. Because if you cut taxes, that means the government is not going to be taking in as much money. So where does that money come from that you've now suddenly slashed? This is one of the reasons why Liz Truss absolutely bombed as quickly as she did. But he is still adamant that this is the direction to go.
You've got to start fixing it somewhere. You've got to administer the medicine at some stage. So what would you start with? And
Well,
would you give them the money they want?
Well, first of all, I would absolutely not have increased corporation tax from 19% to 25%. I'd reduce taxes on businesses across the board. I would probably increase the tax-free threshold for, the lowest band from 12,000 up to 20, possibly 25,000, taking lots of people out of the tax net and make.
Even if you do that, as again, you've just said you've taken a lot of people out of the tax net. That is still a lot. Yeah, people aren't going to get taxed. But then that is a lot of money the government doesn't receive. If you're going to cut, again, taxes across the board for businesses, to what do you cut them? Now, he didn't actually say what he would cut them to. I highly suspect it would be pretty much next to nothing because he's a free market fundamentalist. This is what they essentially advocate for, that there should be almost next to no tax on businesses whatsoever. But doing this would mean the government is losing a massive source of income. What's it meant to do to sort of recover that income? The answer we saw during Liz Truss's time was that, we're going to massively increase borrowing to try and cover these tax cuts and basically hope that the economy grows enough that it covers that gap. But there is no guarantee that your economy is going to do that. That is what happened to Liz Truss. This is what one of the worrying things is as much as we laugh at Liz Truss and just are amused by an absolute sheer buffoonery, there's still people like Ben Habib in the Tory party who are obsessed with this idea. And she's still, unfortunately, in a lot of areas of the Tory party, Liz Truss is still very much liked. Why? Because she is speaking and spewing this nonsense of this libertarian free market fundamentalist nonsense, which we saw in real time did not work. And again, almost crashed the economy. Well, it did crash the economy and almost took out the UK pension market. If the Bank of England had not stepped in when it did, thousands of people, just thousands, millions of people, potentially even more than that, would have found either A, well, you don't have a pension anymore, or gone to withdraw their pension to go, that's strange. I normally get more than this, to find out their pension had been completely wiped out. And yet, you've got Ben Habib, who is pushing these ideas, pushing this nonsense we know does not work. And yet, we know the problems that he has stated for the economy are based on Brexit. Now, a couple of days before this, I think the day before this interview, there was another interview on Talk TV where they had an economist who was saying, look, the big problems for our economy is Brexit. And she was saying, you know, all you economists seem to sort of agree that we've got a growth problem. And he said, well, yeah, we all agree we've got a growth problem. We all agree that it's Brexit. He goes, oh, well, that didn't really seem to be the case before, you know, the referendum. He said, no. Every economist pretty much agreed Brexit was going to cause big economic damage to the UK. The problem was that the 5 who essentially didn't agree with us, with the big economic consensus, got to do the big rounds on TV, which sort of, I think, convinced a lot of people that, you know, Brexit was going to be okay economically. But again, it's not turning out that way. And yet you've got Ben Habib who's insisting that to solve these problems, we have to double down even more on Liz Truss's crazy nonsense, because that's how we solve this. He mentions later in the video that, you know, oh, look at AstraZeneca moving to Ireland over Liverpool. Well, we went over that yesterday, why that was the case. Ireland is not only sort of investing in skills and the jobs and in development, something our government is not doing, even though it said it would. It's also in the single market and customs union, which means it gets access to the European medicine authorities, which is far, far more a better market for it to be in than to be in the UK and to have to jump through more regulatory hoops and all sorts of other problems before it can then even sell into Europe, which would be, its primary market. And yet, according to Ben Habib, oh, the reason why AstraZeneca went to Ireland, oh no, just low taxes. Honestly, there will come a point where these people, and like I say, Ben Habib did get called out in the interview a bit more. Like I say, I definitely highly recommend you go and watch the full interview. Like I say, we can't obviously watch the full interview for you know, obvious reasons. But again, I think this gives you sort of a taste of really what Ben Habib went into. And sort of the nonsense that he spewed, and the rest of the nonsense that these Brexiteers continue to spew, that they cannot admit that their precious Brexit is being an absolute disaster, saying that, oh, we've got the worst of both worlds. But this is what you advocated for. And yet you're now saying the UK's got all these big economic problems, but the problem is being caused by the very thing you advocated for, Ben. So, as always, yeah. Jeez. So, yeah, that's Ben Habib. Certainly, again, an absolute fool who you're just going to wonder how on earth he's sort of listened to as a voice of authority on these things when he really shouldn't be. When he and his entire sort of ideology and his whole cartel, the whole economic argument for Brexit is being thoroughly debunked. The ideological argument is thoroughly being debunked. The political argument is pretty much being debunked as well. And yet these people, fortunately, still listen to. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below there are links to my Patreon page and all the rest of the other fun stuff, like I say, links down below. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and of course, we'll see you all next time.